You are going to remember this Christmas. It will stand apart from all the others. Forget about cozy quiet and familiar routines. This holiday is arriving with a different kind of energy. It carries a weight, an emotional depth that will pull back the curtain on what has been real all along. That subtle ache in your spirit, that sense of waiting for the other shoe to drop? It is not your imagination. It is the quiet rumble of a significant shift taking place just beneath the surface of your everyday life, and it is moving steadily toward a moment of truth. At the heart of this shift are three people: you, someone who matters deeply to you, and another. A critical choice has already been settled. This is not a minor adjustment but a decisive turn, one whose timing is inextricably linked to this season. It will catch you off guard, and its impact will be profound. Yet, here is the part that will redefine everything for you: you are the reason. This change was set in motion not by any request or pressure from you, but by the sheer force of your authenticity. By simply living your truth, you became a lighthouse. Your essence, your actions, your quiet strength, your very way of being illuminated a hidden landscape for someone else. You showed a contrast so clear it could no longer be dismissed. Without a single intention to disrupt, you became the catalyst for resolution. Before you entered their dynamic, an uneasy agreement could be maintained. Your genuine presence dissolved that possibility. You made the invisible visible. Where there was once tolerance, now there is unrest. Where there was resignation, now there is a clear line in the sand. This is the power of living in alignment. Your peace can become the earthquake that unsettles another's complacency, revealing the cracks in a foundation you never even touched. This brings us to a quiet room, not long ago. In that space, your person sat with the third party. The atmosphere was not one of companionship but of confrontation with the unspoken. The air felt static and thick, each breath a conscious effort. The quiet between them was not empty, it was filled with everything finally being acknowledged without a word. That strained silence was the direct outcome of the mirror you held up. It was the sound of a fantasy dissolving under the steady, unwavering light of a real and compelling alternative you. In that breathless room, a path forward became the only option left. The space they shared held no warmth. It was not a sanctuary, but a container for obligation and thick, unspoken friction. The walls themselves seemed to close in, holding them both firmly in place, forcing a confrontation with facts they had long avoided. Their words, when they came, were measured and low. Each sentence was selected with cautious precision, for every syllable carried the gravity of consequence. This was not a quick chat or a kind exchange. It was a soul-weary excavation. Minutes bled into hours. Questions curdled into disputes. Disagreements would collapse under their own weight, sinking back into a silence that grew denser, more oppressive, with every failed attempt. They moved in circles, talking around the central truth, expertly avoiding its core. Emotions would swell like a wave, only to crash and recede into numbness. Sometimes one would voice a plea while the other retreated inward. Sometimes, words failed entirely. The tension became a palpable fog, difficult to breathe in. What compounded the struggle was the sheer unexpected timing of it all. Neither had prepared to feel this raw, this scene. And while your name may not have been uttered aloud, your essence occupied every hollow pause in the dialogue. Your influence had already permeated the room, an invisible current shifting the emotional landscape long before you were aware of any change. By simply existing as your true self, you had redrawn the map of their reality. Once that new terrain was revealed, there was no route back to the old one. They attempted to bargain. They rehearsed old justifications for staying put. They tried to silence the quiet, persistent knowing in their hearts. But the truth echoed back each time, louder and more insistent. Comfort had become confinement. The familiar had revealed its profound emptiness. With each passing moment in that stifling room, it became clearer: a critical limit had been reached. This was no calm deliberation. It was an emotional ordeal, draining and laced with a sharp fear of the unknown, fear of the change coming, fear of what would be lost, fear of speaking aloud a decision that had already taken root within. There were arguments, self-defense, cycles of relentless doubt. And then, silence would reclaim them. A silence so profound and heavy it felt as though the very night was holding its breath in witness. Every moment was seen. Every withheld tear, every tense breath, every fragile and fractured word was acknowledged by a quiet, unwavering awareness. Nothing was lost to the void. The universe itself was bearing witness to the end of one story and the fragile, terrifying birth of another. Secrets have a lifespan. They can only linger in the shadows for so long before the light finds a way in. After that exhausting push and pull, after the internal war between the easy lie and the difficult truth, a single, clear resolution was finally reached. It was hard-won and carried the weight of its own cost, but once it landed, it took root with absolute certainty. This choice will redefine this Christmas for you. It will alter the course of what comes next. The decision they forged is tied, inextricably, to you. You may not know the specifics yet, but your soul has already registered the change. That odd tug in your chest, the heavy anticipation, the certainty that a threshold is being crossed, it all connects. This moment was not an accident or a fleeting reaction. It was the inevitable result of a truth that grew too powerful to contain, an awareness that could no longer be unknown. You became the turning point without ever intending to. Your genuine nature, your steady energy, acted like a tremor that reached a foundation built on unstable ground. You made avoidance impossible. Now, the veil begins to lift. The truth will emerge not in a flood, but in waves. You will sense it in altered conversations, in changed behavior, in the very atmosphere around you, which will feel unmistakably different. Pay attention to the signs that arrive before the explanations. Trust the clarity that dawns inside you before any words are spoken. This Christmas will feel substantial because it is built on honesty. It may not be light, because a significant, real thing is being let out into the open. But this release is necessary. This revelation is meant to happen. While the initial impact may shake you, it will ultimately pave the way for understanding and a profound sense of relief. Your purpose was never to orchestrate or struggle for your place. Your role was simply to exist as your authentic self. By living your truth, you unconsciously became a mirror, reflecting a discrepancy that could no longer be ignored. This is the source of the current intensity, the charged air, the alert feeling in your heart. The decision made in that quiet, heavy room has already begun to turn the gears of what happens next. A new path is being cleared, and it leads toward what is real. The final pieces are moving into place, and their effect will find you quickly. When it does, a deep sense of understanding will settle within you. You'll see with perfect clarity why this season carried a strange charge, why your spirit felt unsettled, and why a true sense of peace felt just beyond your grasp. This Christmas will break from tradition, but it will be anchored in honesty. Remember, profound truth often arrives dressed in intensity. Its gift of peace is revealed only afterward. Now, before I guide you fully into that room, before you hear the precise words spoken, feel the rise of emotion, and learn the final choice that was made, there is one essential truth you must hold. This decision did not materialize from thin air. It was not the product of a single moment or conversation. It wasn't crafted by logic alone, nor was it shaped solely by fleeting emotion. It was influenced. It was stirred. It was set on its path by something deeper, quieter, and far more powerful than anyone understood at the time. That something was you. You never intended this. You had no plan, no desire to interfere or control an outcome. You were simply living your life, being authentically yourself. Yet, your presence in their story held a quiet power. Your energy left a lasting impression. Your respectful silence, in its own way, spoke louder than any argument. Even in your absence, you were not gone. A part of you remained with them, a resonant echo they could not quiet. When you naturally stepped back, it created a void. When you grew quiet, it amplified a noise within their own minds. Your lack of presence, in the way they had known it, began to shout where your words once only whispered. They mistakenly believed distance would mute the feelings and time would blur the memory. Instead, the opposite occurred. Everything became sharper. Your essence refused to dissipate. It followed them into unguarded moments, late-night reflections, and conversations they never meant to have. It surfaced in unwelcome comparisons and in questions they had buried. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the atmosphere between them began to transform. It started as a subtle, unexplained discomfort, a nagging sense of misalignment, a feeling that something vital was missing. Then it deepened. It seeped into their dialogues, colored their private doubts, and fed the fears they tried to suppress. It became a silent, patient presence in the background of their lives, waiting to be acknowledged. They may not fully comprehend it, even now. But your genuine influence rerouted the course of their thoughts. It challenged the comfortable narrative they had built. It quietly exposed the fractures they had tried so hard to plaster over. You became the quiet standard against which everything else was measured, and that measurement changed everything. The cracks, once visible, changed everything. They could no longer pretend the foundation was solid. The flaw was now a fact, and it colored every glance, every silence between them. I recognize the stirring in your spirit, the longing to see the full picture taking form. So, let your shoulders relax. Release the questions circling your mind and listen, not just with your ears, but with your soul. What comes next is real, and its arrival will reshape your world. Here is the resolution forged in that heavy, silent room. Their connection is ending. It is happening now. Amidst the twinkling lights and carols of Christmas, a time meant for unity, a profound internal rupture has occurred. This conclusion wasn't born from a dramatic incident, but from a dawning awareness that could no longer be postponed. The other woman has finally surrendered to a feeling she long battled. She suspected it earlier but turned from the notion, willing it to diminish. She told herself she could outlast it. Now, that knowing is complete and impossible to dismiss. Affection for you still resides within your person. The words may remain unvoiced, but the sentiment persists, a constant, gentle pulse beneath the surface. You are on their mind. You are the silent standard in their quiet moments. Unwittingly, they measure other interactions against the memory of you, seeking your imprint in another's laughter or gesture, and coming up short. A specific harmony is missing. She feels this deficit acutely. She perceives the gap she cannot bridge. She is met with a shallowness where she hopes for depth, and it has become a source of quiet agony. It terrifies her. It dismantles the story she desperately clung to. The core truth is now plain to her: she is not you. She cannot foster the bond you share. She will never be the one his heart unmistakably knows. This was an understanding delayed, but never avoidable. Maybe she caught a hint of it at the start and averted her eyes. Maybe she trusted that circumstances would shift in her favor. Now, the outcome is here, plain and unavoidable. Their partnership is dissolving as a result. But listen closely, this conclusion is also a beginning. An entrance you thought was walled off is now accessible. A direction that seemed lost to you is reappearing. This parting does not create a void, it creates possibility. Necessary space. Room that was essential to carve out. Because the genuine connection that exists with you was being stifled, unable to breathe in the confined reality they inhabited. The holidays will carry a new tone because they are rooted in authenticity, not illusion. The calm you've been missing has been waiting for this obstruction to clear. This is the dawn of the understanding you were always meant to have. When things are packed too tightly, there is no room for air. This new distance, as unsettling as it feels, is that first, crucial breath. It allows a truth to rise that could not surface before, not when emotions were screaming, expectations were weighing everything down, and fear filled every corner. In this new quiet, truth doesn't have to shout. It simply appears. It comes in a quiet moment, a sudden understanding, revealing what was genuine, what was mistaken, and what was left unresolved. This truth does more than show you who they are. It shows you the person you have been growing into all this time. This space makes healing possible. Real healing, the kind that could never happen when the same hurt was being poked and prodded every day. Healing requires stillness. It needs time without interruption. It needs a break from the very things that caused the injury in the first place. In this pause, your nerves can finally unwind. Your heart can begin to relax its guard. The old patterns of panic and reaction start to fade, and you feel yourself coming back, not the you that was shaped by worry or hope, but the you that is rooted in your own quiet strength. It also makes room for everything you never let yourself feel. The emotions you buried just to get through the day. The sentences you bit back to avoid conflict. The sadness you denied because you felt you had to be tough. In this new calm, these feelings can finally come up. They do not come to destroy you, but to be seen. Your tears have a purpose. Your memories bring insight. Instead of being pulled under, you begin to see the story they tell. But you must hear this, for it is the most important part. An open door is not a promise kept. A visible path can still be walked past if fear is the one leading you. This moment does not ask for a rush. It does not reward a quick reaction. It asks for your calm. It requires your patience. It needs your clear-eyed judgment. This is a time to be steady, to guard your spirit wisely, and to let understanding arrive in its own time, in its own way. Stand still. Do not run after what is moving. Do not try to push the river. Do not let the scars from yesterday make your choices for today. What is happening now requires room to simply be. If this chance is meant to bloom, it will grow in the sunlight of truth, not in the shadows of panic. It will root itself in honesty, not in pressure. It will align with what is right, not with what is feared. So, I invite you into a quiet moment of prayer. Not to command an outcome, but to steady your soul as the pieces settle. Dear God, you see what I cannot. You know the truth behind every closed door. If this parting is part of your plan, let it happen with clarity and integrity. Steady my heart so I do not act from old hurt or fear. Grant me peace. Grant me patience. Grant me wisdom. If this bond is meant to find its way back to me whole and true, then guide it gently. Remove all confusion, all pride, all interference. Clear the path of everything that does not serve your purpose. And if this is not meant for me, then close the door with kindness, and heal me completely. I place my heart in your hands. I trust you with what comes next. I trust you with my healing, my future, and the story of my love. Lead me in truth, in light, and in peace. Amen. The message is clear now. Stay calm. Stay rooted. Stay open. What is unfolding is not chaos. It is the sound of truth finally finding its voice. And truth always creates change. You were never unseen. You were never an afterthought. The difference you made was real. Everything that is shifting now is moving for a reason. And you are not walking through it alone. You are being guided, one quiet step at a time.